Welcome to the Daily Gospel of John. Glad you're watching. Taking a look at verse 28 in John 18. Then the Jews led Jesus from Caiaphas to the palace of the Roman governor. By now it was early morning, and to avoid ceremonial uncleanness, the Jews did not enter the palace. They wanted to be able to eat the Passover. Okay, there's a lot of hypocrisy going on here among the Jewish leadership, the Sanhedrin, somewhat like a mafia. And I want to take a look at the parallel passage in Matthew 26, which gives a lot more detail about what was going on. It's a little bit of reading, but it's amazing. The chief priests and the whole Sanhedrin were looking for false evidence against Jesus so that they could put him to death. But they did not find any, though many false witnesses came forward. Finally, two came forward and declared, "This fellow said, 'I am able to destroy the temple of God and rebuild it in 3 days.'" Then the high priest stood up and said to Jesus, "Are you not going to answer? What is this testimony that these men are bringing against you?" But Jesus remained silent. The high priest said to him, "I charge you under oath by the living God. Tell us if you are the Christ, the Son of God." "Yes, it is as you say," Jesus replied. "But I say to all of you, in the future you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven." Then the high priest tore his clothes and said, "He has spoken blasphemy. Why do we need any more witnesses? Look, now we have heard the blasphemy. What do you think?" "He is worthy of death," they answered. Then they spit in his face and struck him with their fists. Others slapped him and said, "Prophesy to us, Christ, who hit you?" So all that happened before Caiaphas, an illegal trial by their own Jewish law, a trial by night, false witnesses, beating the prisoner before he was even tried, spitting in his face. And then the next morning, after they've abused him and are still abusing him, they are unwilling to step foot into the palace of this Gentile governor named Pilate. Why? Because according to their law and tradition, if they step foot in a Gentile residence or building, they would be considered unclean to participate in the Passover. Such irony here, because here Jesus is the Lord of the Passover. He is the Passover lamb, so to speak, who will be killed that we might be passed over in God's judgment. And yet, so they're willing to abuse the Lord of glory, and yet they want to keep their religious tradition. So here stands Jesus bound. And isn't that what so much of man's religion does? Is they bind Jesus. We don't really want anything to do with you, the real living Jesus. In fact, we'll kind of abuse you, the real living Jesus. But we're all about our tradition, and we're all about our ceremony and our rituals. And don't get in the way, Jesus, because we're too busy practicing our little games and our little power plays to keep the masses under our thumb. That we don't really want you, the real you. We just as soon kill you, spit in your face, okay? And that's what religion does. Religion that's not true relationship with God. The prophet Micah said, "He has shown thee, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of thee? But to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God." To know him, to love him, to walk with him in a relationship. Not to push him aside so we can practice some little rituals that supposedly are about him, although we don't really want him involved. It's so sad and so ironic that they're willing to kill the Lord of glory, but they don't want to step foot in a Gentile's house for fear of being unclean. How blind we can be. How blind religion can make us. Religion is man's idea. A relationship in spirit and truth by faith in Jesus Christ is God's idea. It's a good deal. God bless.